What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Football Talk with Vinny. And obviously in today's video, we're going to be talking about my favorite team, the Dallas Cowboys. Now, honestly, this video might be a little longer than the other ones just because, again, this is my team, so I didn't have to do much research on the video. I kind of already know what was going on in the offseason for my team. Obviously, the big news to start the free agency offseason kind of thing was the fact that Sean Lee did announce that he was retiring. And obviously, if you are a Dallas Cowboys fan, even if you're not, kind of know who that player is. Right, probably not going to make it to the Hall of Fame or anything like that, but was a very good player when he did play. Obviously, he had a lot of injuries, which was very unfortunate, kind of cut his career short. But when he did play, he was a very good player. But obviously, the really big news was the fact that we were able to come to an agreement with Dak Prescott on a 4-year, $160 million deal. And, if you know from this channel, I think that Dak is one of the, definitely one of the top 10 best quarterbacks in the league. So again, to me, I think that he is well deserving of this money. If you would have asked me 2-3 years ago, I would have said, I think I need to see a little bit more. But after these last, obviously year and a couple games last year, to me, I saw enough to where I said, okay, Dak is now the reason why we're winning games. I think earlier in his career, right, first 2-3 seasons, he wasn't really the reason why we were winning games. We just had a very good roster. Over the last year and a half, you can see, as evident by the fact that once Dak got down, our offense went from a top 5 offense in almost every category to towards the bottom of almost every category. So again, it just shows that when Dak is on the field, we are a much better football team. Some free agent departures, guys like Chidobe Awuzie, the corner for the Dallas Cowboys. The secondary was already bad enough, and he is arguably our best corner. So losing a guy like him is not a good thing. So if you're Dallas, obviously the money was an issue. Once you give Dak $140 million, you don't have money to sign everybody, so you got to let some guys go. So now it's really up to the draft to try to fill those spots. And then the only really notable signing was Keanu Neal. He is a safety from the Atlanta Falcons. And they were thinking he might play linebacker when he got signed, but obviously, as we'll get to a minute in the draft, that's no longer needed. So he'll probably end up playing safety for the Dallas Cowboys. Now let's go into the draft, where obviously they had pick 10. They traded it down to 12 with the Philadelphia Eagles, and with the 12th pick, we were able to get Micah Parsons, which I absolutely love this pick. Even though I think a lot of people had us mocked taking a corner at 10, I never really wanted us to take a corner, because to me, I think it's better for the Dallas Cowboys to build up front through the front 7, make sure we can stop the run and get after the passer, right? And the fact that Sean Lee retired, it obviously, I think, fills a hole right there at the linebacker spot. And then another one is a lot of people all offseason were talking about Jalen Smith possibly being traded. And obviously the reason is because he just signed his extension, so he is due a lot of money. And they say he had like a drop off in his play, which, again, I think that's more so to do with the fact that our defensive tackles, we brought some guys in, and one of them got hurt in Gerald McCoy, and the other guy, Dontari Poe, he just didn't work out, so we had to release him earlier in the season. I think when your linebackers don't have good guys up front, it makes every linebacker's job hard, because now the guards and centers are able to get to the second level, which is the linebackers, right? And by getting to the second level, again, no linebacker would thrive when they're constantly being guarded by a guard or a center. I think every linebacker in the league will tell you the same thing. If they've got good D linemen up front, it makes their job 10 times easier. But now we'll go through the rest of the draft. Obviously, with the second round pick that we had, it was 44. We took Kelvin Joseph. He's a corner. So again, I like that you address cornerback in the second round, kind of exactly like we did last year with Trayvon Diggs in the second round. And I like it because when you take a corner high, he has to be very good right away. And cornerback is a very hard position to be good right away. There's not that many players that are like Jalen Ramsey, where they're a high top 5, top 10 pick, and they come in the league and they're elite corners right away. Now in the third round, pick 75, we took a defensive tackle, Osa, I probably am gonna pronounce this wrong, Odijewuza. Probably definitely pronounced that wrong, but I'm definitely gonna spell it down here. So again, you also now addressed the defensive tackle in the third round, so I really like that as well. We'll go with the other third round pick that we got from trading the Philadelphia Eagles. We took a defensive end, Chauncey Golston. So again, you're now trying to really rebuild that front 7. You get a linebacker with your first pick, you get a D tackle and a D end with both your third round picks, so I really like that. And then in the fourth round at pick 99, we took another defensive back, a corner. and his name is Nashawn Wright. So again, with your first 4 picks, obviously the first top 100 as well, you went all defense, you went 2 on the back end, 2 on the D-line, and 1 linebacker. Excuse me, it's 5 picks. And then, like I said in every video, I'll go over the rest of the draft, but to me, once you're outside that top 100, it's just really difficult to even make the roster. Again, some guys from every draft class will make the roster. Some guys will be Pro Bowl caliber players, but it's so far few in between. So let me just quickly go over the rest of the draft. So you had pick number 115, we took another linebacker, Jabril Cox. Pick 138, an offensive tackle, Josh Ball. At pick 179, Simi Fehoko, a wide receiver. At pick 192, Quinton Bonhana, another defensive tackle. At pick 227, Israel Mukamu. I'll put the name at the bottom. I probably butchered that. I apologize. And then at pick 238, we took Matt Farniok at guard. So again, I kind of like the draft as general. Like I said, outside that top 100, it's kind of hard to make the team. But if you really just focus in on those top 100, you took 5 defensive players. Again, your defense was really bad last year, almost historically bad to start the year. Got a little better towards the late part of the year as well. So at least didn't finish on a historically bad pace like they were on. But again, I really like it. You got the linebacker to fill Sean Lee's spot, right? You got a couple of defensive tackles and a couple of defensive ends to really bring some youth into that D-line. And again, if that D-line can play good, you still have DeMarcus Lawrence, you still have Randy Gregory, right? So if that D-line can play good, it'll make things easier for the linebackers, which will also make things easier for the entire secondary. And again, obviously the big news with signing Dak Prescott, at this point, if you're the Dallas defense, you don't even need to be good to make the playoffs. You just have to be below average, right? Not horrible, but if they're like in the low teens, like 18, 19, 20th ranked in defense, that is definitely good enough to make the playoffs when you have a top 5 ranked offense, which I believe Dallas will definitely have, especially when you look at their numbers from last year. In the 4 or 5 games Dak played, we were literally, I think, the number 1 offense in yards gained, and also I think we were number 1 or 2 in points. Now, obviously for the regular season, in terms of like projections, right, I can easily see Dallas being anywhere from a 9 to a 12 win team, right? Obviously closer to 9 wins if the division is actually very good. Again, it's hard to tell. Every team had their ups and downs last year. I think the Giants were probably the most balanced team, but Washington definitely had the best defense, and they were able to barely win the division. But again, I think it just depends on how much better the division is. If Dallas can win 4 or 5 games in the division, I could definitely see them winning 11 or 12 games. If they maybe only win 3 games in the division, then you can see them moving back to maybe 9 or 10 wins. One quick thing, I do want to go over the salary cap because it is pretty crazy. So if you look at Dallas's salary cap for this season, we have about $6 million to spend. And I know a lot of people are really talking about how, why isn't Dallas going after guys like Richard Sherman and stuff like that? And I'm going to make another video on that too, as to why some players have not been signed. But if you look at Dallas's cap situation, sure, we have $6 million for this year, but next year Dallas is $24 million in debt. So we are $24 million over the salary cap. So next year, we're going to have to restructure some contracts and or cut players just to get below the salary cap. So even though it shows Dallas has $6 million, the people obviously that are running the Dallas Cowboys, they understand that they don't actually have $6 million. And then, like I said, I'll make a video to explain why that is and how that happens. Again, I already made a longer video about the salary cap in general. If you would like to check it out, I'll put a link in the description below. But you should definitely check that out if you're not familiar with how the salary cap works. But because of that rollover, right, if you're the Dallas Cowboys, you're $24 million in the hole, essentially. If you can roll over $6 or $7 million, at least it gives you a better starting point for next year. But that's going to do it for today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you did like the video, please hit the like button. It does help out the channel a lot, and also consider subscribing. But that's going to do it for today's video. Thank you guys so much. Look forward to the next one. Bye.